Before we dive into the list, I should set my rules. So, has to be a NASCAR movie, like I said it before, but it also can't be a documentary. It has to have actors. Because I feel like documentaries is just like a whole nother subset, a whole nother subgenre of movies, and I'm talking just movies. So here we go. Number 10, Logan Lucky. And yeah, this is definitely the most controversial one on my list, because if you've seen Logan Lucky, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Rattlesnake, Logan Lucky isn't a NASCAR movie. It's a heist movie. And you're right. It is a heist movie. It's really not a NASCAR movie specifically. But they're robbing Charlotte Motor Speedway. And a lot of the characters revolve around NASCAR. So although it is a heist movie, Logan Lucky is a really good movie. It's really funny, it's really entertaining, has great actors in it, amazing director. It's a really fun heist movie about robbing Charlotte Motor Speedway during a race. But if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. And if you're a NASCAR fan, there's a lot of references in there that you might get a chuckle out of. Number 9. Redline 7000. You know, to be honest, there's not much to be said here. I put it on my list because it's a classic. Everybody loves it. It's a classic NASCAR movie. In my opinion, it's one of my least favorite NASCAR movies. I don't know if it's just too old for me or something. It's just more of like a who's with who, you know, kind of comedy. And it's just not my cup of tea. It's a little ridiculous, but if you love the movie, good for you. Not much more I'm going to say about Redline 7000. Just not one of my favorite movies. Number 8, Cars. Now, anytime Disney Pixar is going to make a movie, it's going to be incredible. So when they decide to make a movie about racing or NASCAR, obviously it's going to be on the list because it's just a great movie. I know it's for kids, but it's such a good movie. And it's an entertaining movie. A lot of production went to it. There's, you know, NASCAR drivers that are voice actors in it. Obviously, it's a great story. Number 7, Greased Lightning. Obviously, any movie with Richard Pryor is going to be a great one, but the fact that this movie was about Wendell Scott, the first black NASCAR driver, just makes it that much better because he has such an incredible story. You know, going from a moonshine runner to taxi cab driver and all this stuff coming up through all these challenges and just not even like, just able to live with all the racism that he went through and just doing what he wanted to do because he loved to do it. It's just a really good movie. It's a really good story with some really good actors and characters in it. Highly, highly recommend watching that one. Number 6, I have 3, The Dale Earnhardt Story. I'm aware that the NASCAR community hates this movie, and I'm sure there's a lot of inaccuracies in this movie. But I'm not basing my list based off historical accuracies. Otherwise, I would have documentaries in here. I'm basing my list just purely off enjoyment, entertainment from a movie that's about NASCAR. And in terms of entertainment and enjoyment from a NASCAR movie, 3 actually hits both. And I'm pretty sure every movie that's based on historical, like, facts or things that actually happen are going to be pretty far off from the actual truth. But it's just because NASCAR fans are so crazy and we love Dale Earnhardt so much that we don't want any inaccuracies. But just as a viewer, as somebody that wants to watch an entertaining movie, as a NASCAR fan, it was a pretty enjoyable movie. At number 5, Six Pack. And it is a really weird movie. Just to be blunt, it is a weird movie. If you've never seen it, it is about a driver who is trying to get back into NASCAR, trying to get back into a stock car career, where he's driving through Texas, and a gang of like 6 children rob him of his engine, I believe it was, and he tracks them down and turns them into his pit crew. That's essentially the premise of this whole damn movie. It is weird as hell, but it's actually pretty good. It was a lot of fun, it's goofy, it's silly, and it really does focus on racing. And it's definitely worth your time. R.I.P. Kenny Rogers. I think everybody should go watch that now, honestly, now that he's passed. I think it's on YouTube. That's where I watched it for free. Number 4, Stroker Ace. Now, there's a lot of people that consider this their favorite NASCAR movie. There's a lot of people that hate this movie. Why? Because NASCAR fans are very divisive. But regardless of how you feel about this movie, you have to admit, if you've seen it, One of the most iconic NASCAR scenes of all time. Burt Reynolds on top of the egg in the chicken suit, and then he drives the plucked chicken car. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's ran that paint scheme before, but if that hasn't been a paint scheme at Darlington yet, it needs to happen immediately. And people love this movie. One, it's Burt Reynolds. Everybody's going to love whatever Burt Reynolds is in, let's be honest. But it's funny. It's, there's definitely racing in it, and there's some Hall of Famers that are in this movie. But it's more so just about a NASCAR driver stuck in a shitty situation that he's trying to get out of. He hates his sponsor, and he's trying to get out of the contract that he signed because he's an idiot. All right, number 3, Days of Thunder. It's a great story about 2 NASCAR drivers in the prime time, in the premier time period of NASCAR. 2 of the best NASCAR drivers at the time competing with each other intensely. And I know Hendrick worked closely with the production of that movie, and a lot of the movie was based on true stories, kind of a collection of different stories about, different incidences with NASCAR drivers, different rivalries. The car rental scene, obviously, was iconic, which apparently was a true story. It's made some of the best throwback paint schemes. The mellow yellow paint scheme, that's awesome. Not only is it just a good movie in general, but it's a good NASCAR movie, which in my opinion is hard to come by. It brought a lot of mainstream fame in the 90s to NASCAR, which leads me to my next film. At number 2, Talladega Nights. It is funny as hell. It might be Will Ferrell's funniest movies he's ever made. And that's a lot to say, because there's Anchorman, there's Step Brothers. He has made some of the funniest movies of our generation. And the fact is, Talladega Nights brought NASCAR into a lot of the mainstream of this generation. So just to break this down, a mainstream, great, hilarious movie with the great cast that's about NASCAR. I'm sorry if it's not accurate enough for you, if it doesn't depict NASCAR the exact way you'd like it to. I'm sorry. But the fact is, when you're making a list of the best NASCAR movies, we're not talking documentaries, I'm talking just the best NASCAR movies. If you're making that list, if Talladega Nights isn't in your top 3, then there's something wrong with you. At number 1, of the greatest NASCAR movie of all time, The Last American Hero. And I know that this movie's on just about everybody's top 10 list, if not top 5 lists. It's considered one of the best NASCAR movies of all time. And I knew it was going to be on my list, obviously. At least top 10, if not top 5. I knew I enjoyed it. I knew it was a very popular NASCAR movie. But after rewatching it... Now, if you haven't seen The Last American Hero, I highly, highly recommend going to see it. Obviously, it's number 1 on my list. It's loosely about Junior Johnson, starring Jeff Bridges before you'll ever be able to recognize him because he is young and clean-shaven. But it's a great, incredible story of a guy from the mountains of North Carolina running moonshine, just like how NASCAR started, so, historically accurate, trying to make money on the side to get his dad out of jail, who makes moonshine. And he's, runs in derbies and stuff like that, and saw that you could make some money stock car racing. It said, sign me up, because he runs the cars for his dad for the shine. And was incredible, and was just winning all the time. He's a hard-ass dude. Anybody comes at him, he's no bullshit. And it just kind of shows him working his way up into the series, and he finally gets into the Cup Series and starts to make a name for himself, and then that's when the movie ends. So it really is just like the early stages of Junior Johnson coming into NASCAR. But honestly, it's a really good movie. It's a movie, I don't know if it did win any awards, but it probably should have won awards at the time. The acting is incredible. It's a really good story arc. A lot of good characters in it.
Hello, come right in.